Welcome back, guys, on this next class of UML. Today, we are going to study about the activity diagram. This is a very important class. I would recommend you guys to please pay full attention and try to understand everything. And if you have any questions, you can always stop me and ask. Activity diagram is like one of the most important diagrams in UML and in the business analysis world in IT industry, to be very honest. This is one of the simplest diagram you will ever learn. In the last class, we have studied about use case diagram, and I know that could be a little difficult to understand for someone who has not seen it before. But this activity diagram is pretty simple. We can easily understand. There should not be any problem at all. But just in case if you have any question, do not hesitate to stop me and ask me so that I can talk more on that topic and can help you understand. So let's get started then. 1 second. All right. So agenda of this class will be, we are going to have some introduction of the activity diagram, and then I'll also tell you what are different types of this diagram with some examples and obviously some hands-on experiences on this diagram. Like I will create some of the diagrams in front of you so that you all can understand how do we create these diagrams. So by end of this course, you will understand what is the basic concepts, or maybe more than basic concepts, of activity diagram. When I'm saying concept, as in what is this diagram, why this is used, what is the importance, benefits of using this diagram, and why we should be using this diagram always in our business analysis world. And then you will learn how to create these diagrams. And obviously, as I said, some of the benefits of this diagram. So as I always said, you don't need to memorize anything. Never try to memorize anything. This will not stay longer with you. Just try to understand the concepts. And just in case if there's a formula that you have to memorize, you will see this small icon, the red icon here. And you know that, okay, this is something I have to memorize. So go ahead and memorize. Otherwise, you don't need to. So what is activity diagram? As I said, if you remember the previous class, I told you there are two types of diagrams under UML. One is your the behavioral diagram, and one is your static diagram. Static diagram is like static in nature. It does not give you a different relationship. It does not give you different situations. It just gives you the different states, from one state to another state. But the behavioral diagrams tells you some activity is happening. This will give you the reasonings, the conditions, different checkpoints. So any diagram that has this behavioral nature will be part of the behavioral diagram. One of that was the use case diagram we have studied last week. We saw how situation changes based on the conditions. So activity diagram is one of the behavioral diagrams under UML. And this diagram is like, as we have been always telling you, all the diagram, the only purpose is to visually represent the requirement. So here in this activity diagram, you will graphically, you will represent the flow of different activities within one business boundary. Something is happening. One business boundary is like, you can see this example here. I have just given you a simple example. You don't need to understand it right now. We'll go ahead and review this example once again and step by step. And I'm sure you will be easily understanding what exactly is this. But for now, one piece of the requirement within one flow, or maybe the whole requirement. Activity diagram can be used along with other diagrams to visually represent those different behaviors, different processes, different activities within one business boundary or within one project. So this is pretty simple. This will give you what different steps we are taking, what actions we are taking actually, and any decision points. Decision points as in the condition checking. If this happens or this does not happen, that is something I'm referring as a decision point. So we can draw all the steps, different actions, decision points within one activity diagram, and we can represent either one simple functional requirement or maybe the whole project. So that's pretty simple. I'll explain you in detail, so this will be easy for you to understand. For now, you can just ignore this diagram. This is just to show you how one simple activity diagram looks like. So before we go ahead and understand that diagram in detail, we'll have to understand a little bit more about the activity diagram. So In next couple of slides, we will be studying what is the use and purpose of this activity diagram in the business analysis world or in any IT industry, IT project. So the number one is the process modeling. Process modeling is nothing but to diagrammatically represent the processes of that activity or that project or that different module. So it says activity diagrams serve as a valuable tools for modeling and understanding complex business processes. Pretty simple. As I said, a picture talks more than maybe 1,000 words. Something, there is a saying, I don't remember exactly, but a picture talks like 1,000 words for something, blah blah. So I mean, in simple words, if we have something drawn, this will be really easy for us to talk more in less words. Just one page of diagram can be a summary of 5 or 10 pages of the documentations. So this is a very useful tool for you to understand the complex business needs. If I have to go and explain you like a very complex business situation, I may be ending up talking maybe an hour or two, and you may not be understand anything. But if I say go ahead and draw a diagram, you will be easily understanding, okay, what do I mean, what I'm trying to say here. So that will help you understand things easily. This is one of the most powerful tools you can ever use in any of the business analysis and requirement gathering processes. Using this diagram, a BA can actually sequence different activities, or like can also show, okay, what are different activities going in parallel together and in what sequences. Like what is the first and then what and then what. Probably there could be more than one activities that they're working together the same time, parallel. So using this diagram, you can represent that. However, somewhere in use cases, I'm not exactly sure, but probably you will not be able to show two parallel activities going on together. Yeah, maybe you can, I have no idea. But to represent all those different parallel activities together, we use activity diagrams. So this is specific to like parallel activities, sequential activities, you can use this one. And you can represent, okay, how these different activities are happening sequentially and also parallel within one diagram. And you can also show some decisions as in the conditions. When I'm referring decision, that could be condition that one action has to be there. Let's say we have two different conditions. So I'm going to take decision which one is true, which one is not true. So one has to be there. That's what we sometimes refer as a decision. But decision is nothing but the conditions. Now, you can also like use this diagram to show all those activities in sequences, in order, what order they should be appearing. This is pretty simple. And once you know the order, you can like have a comprehensive view of all the processes. You can identify within one system, and then you can improve. So let's say I'm a business analyst. Now I know what are different activities that I have to complete within this one single process or single requirement. Now I know what are the different orders, in what order that is going on, and what different activities are happening in parallel. Now I also know what are different conditions that I have to put in. So don't you think this would be really easy for you to model that entire process? You can easily do that. So the process modeling becomes really easy using this activity diagram. It's pretty simple. Now you don't have to confuse with the word process modeling. Process modeling is nothing but to diagramming, visually representing the process and nothing else. Now, the next we have is a requirement analysis. Obviously, as I just said, if you know all these things, what different activities, what is the sequence, you know, what are different conditions, what are different parallel activities are happening, this will give you a really clear visualization and the interaction of the requirement. And like interaction between different activities, different the processes, it's all together. So the analysis part will be really easy. Say an example, business is giving you some of the requirements, and you have like made up one activity diagram. You have drawn one activity diagram with all those activities, everything all together. Don't you think this will be really easy to visualize different interactions between various system components? This can. This can be easily be done. So during the requirement analysis, you can use this one. If you remember, let me recall you. We used the requirement gathering and then analysis. That is part of the software development life cycle. If you remember the SDLC life cycles, if you don't remember, you can go back and watch the previous videos. So the number one is the requirement gathering. In the requirement gathering, you simply go ahead and try to understand what is needed, and you don't really bother about how and when can this be done. Probably when is something when and where you can still keep in mind, but how, for sure you don't do how in the requirement gathering process. That is only what. Now, once you move to the next step, once you have the requirement captured, now you are going ahead and trying to analyzing all those requirements, eliciting and seeing what is possible, what is not possible. So this is the very useful tool that you can use during your analysis part. So now you have the requirement. Now you're trying to connect the dots. You're trying to find out all different activities. Now, again, just to be very clear, you can do this diagramming for one simple functional requirement or maybe for the whole project. It's completely up to you. How are you utilizing these tools? So once you have the one functional requirement and you know what are different steps you have to perform, what are different system components are there, what are different activities, all the relationship, all those decision points, you can simply draw this activity diagram and you can analyze the requirement in detail. You can know what is possible, what is not possible. You can show this to your team. You can show this activity diagram to your business, and they will understand things more clear, and they will try to clear your doubts, and they will try to fix the requirement gap if they may have any. So this is one of the most important tools that you can use during your requirement analysis part. So the next line says business analysts can use activity diagrams to identify the inputs, outputs, and dependencies of each activity, enabling them to define precise requirements and identify potential gaps or bottleneck in the processes. Yes, we just spoke about these things very in detail. So once you know what are the inputs, input as in what are we're using as something that we have to process and find some solutions. Your input could be the requirement from the different sources that you're getting. You may have the requirement at so many different sources. You're collecting all those sources. All those sources are for the input for you. Now you're processing it. The processing could be you're going ahead, reading it, reviewing it, talking to someone. All those things are called as the processing. And then you have some outputs. Outputs as in you have processed everything. Now you will have something documented somewhere in like a simple format or understandable format or something that everyone can understand and can use as a one common place to understand things. So that is what we refer as the output. And then what are different dependencies. Like you have different conditions point. I'm saying, okay, point one is true, then do this action. If false, then do the other action. So the dependencies, between each of the activities. So this will actually enable you to define a precise and a great requirement for the business. And you will potentially be finding all different gaps between the requirements. You have discussed with something with business. Now business has explained you a lot of things in detail. You may not be able to understand everything in one go unless you start analyzing those requirements. And in the analysis part, this activity diagram is one of the tools that you can use. That's a pretty simple. Just to make it simple and summarize, this is one of the tools you can use your requirement analysis during your requirement analysis part. There could be other tools as well. This is one of the most important tools that you can ever use. Next is communication and collaboration. Obviously, if we have everything drawn, right, everything, we know all inputs, output, processes, conditions, and we have drawn something, you can use this as like one of the most important communication and collaboration tool. You can go to the business, show your findings, show your research. You can tell them, okay, this is what it looks like the requirement is going to behave. This is what I believe based on your requirement. These are all different activities we have to complete. These are different conditions that we have to integrate somewhere. And this is how different activities are collaborating with each other. So once business sees this, business will be able to help you understand things more detail. It's a pretty well saying. Sometimes even business does not know what they need. Sometimes they do not have idea. They just have some idea, but they actually don't know how this will be behaving, how this will look like. The moment you start presenting them something visually, the moment they say it, they get the idea and they either change the requirement or reform it or like you give you the new requirements. But now they know what is actually is going to look like. So this can be used as one of the most the important communication and collaboration tools. So like, this is like you can use this diagram as a common language. Common language as in, what does it mean? Business has given you a lot of things in the simple English languages. You have written somewhere in your understanding. You have reviewed with other development team in business and maybe your tech architects, and they have given you different ideas of those things. So what you will do, you will go ahead and club everything together and design one document which can visually represent everyone's language in one common language, which is the activity diagram of that particular requirement. So you don't have to worry about what did you mean by saying this word or using that sentences or using that technical jargons. You don't have to worry about that. Once you have this diagram written, you can simply use the diagram and everybody will be talking the same language, which is the diagram language, and they will change things, you know. So having said, once you have everyone agreed on one common language, everybody is like working on one common design, this will help you solve the complex problems and give you the more ideas to improve the requirement. Trust me, this happens. This is really it. This makes your life easy to convey, you know, the complex problems, complex ideas, complex situations. Sometimes what happens, if you try to explain something to one of your business, or maybe you have like different reasons, businesses, they all have a different culture, they all have a different language efficiencies. If you go and try to explain them in your simple English languages, probably you would be able to explain everything in detail and very pretty clear. Probably you may not. Sometimes, you have language issues, you have like comm skills gaps, sometimes you have or maybe any like accent issues. But once you have things like in a diagram model, you don't have to worry about all those things. People will be understanding the diagram and not your language. I have just taken a very basic example that could not be a best or the good example. I don't know, but I just thought to make things easy for you. So this diagram will make your life easy to convey things in detail. The complex problems, complex ideas can be easily conveyed to different the group of businesses or different group of people. And obviously, this diagram you can use to facilitate different discussions. You have something, you know the problem. Now you were drawing the diagram, and then you get to know, okay, this is something I would need, and I think this can be done differently, or this is something not I believe is good. So let me do things differently. So if you have that diagram, you can like facilitate a lot of good discussions, and you can gather feedback. Once I see something, I will show you something. I'll give you the different examples. I'll just try to help you understand, okay, you are writing this way, but I didn't mean this. I wanted something differently. So this can be used like to facilitate a lot of different discussions. And you can use this tool to gather different business feedback. This will make your life easy in future. Once you are in the development phases, you will not have to worry about not capturing the correct requirement. Obviously, you can ask, so anyways, we are going to have the document reviewed with business and take sign off. Yeah, you will. But that process will be easy for you if you use diagrams. Not only activity diagrams, you can use any other diagrams as well. But activity diagram is pretty simple to use. So you will just see in some time later in this course in the further slides. Now you can easily optimize the processes. You can make the process simple, optimize, change, agreed with something, because you know what are the dependencies you have, you know what are the bottlenecks, like the endpoint. I cannot go beyond that if I do not get these answers. You're drawing something and you have different conditions. Condition one is true, condition two you don't know. Okay, let's say condition one was true, then I made this decision. Condition one was false, then I made the other decisions. What happens if condition two is true? What happened in case the condition two is false? You don't know. That could be your bottleneck. You don't know what next, right? But when you talk to someone, they can talk a lot more things. Sometimes we are human, we talk something which is really not required, but we keep talking. You don't have to worry about that when you have these diagrams drawn. So once you start drawing this diagram, now you know, okay, now condition one, I understand, I got this feedback from business. What about condition two? I don't know. I heard somewhere this condition two, but I have no real, I really don't have idea what next. How do I process further? How do I go ahead? That should be your bottleneck, and you would all you will only know when you are drawing these things. So once you have that, you can simply go and talk to the business. Probably business may not have the idea. They even did not think about in their processes. So this will give them chance to optimize the processes. This may happen, this may not happen always, but that is something. you would probably be using this a lot, and you will make things easy for everyone, for you and for the business, right? You know what is efficient, what is not efficient when you're actually going ahead. You can simply identify all those efficiencies. This is wrong, this is a problem, this is a bottleneck. I should go and talk to business, I should go and talk to my team members, and then you would be easily able to understand and fix all those things. So the process will be improved if you start using the diagrams. Again, not only activity, this might be done with different diagrams as well. One of them we studied in the last class was the use case diagram. So hope I'm not talking too much. You guys are following with me. The next point, it says by visualizing the flow of the activities. Now we know what are different flows, and now we can visualize it looking at the diagrams. A BA can pinpoint the areas where tasks can be streamlined. Now I know how the process is going on. I know what are different flows. I know what are different conditions. So I would be easily knowing, okay, this task can be streamlined. This task can be, made it better, or maybe this step is unnecessary. We don't need it. In the process of the flow, you found out, okay, this is awesome. We have to streamline. We must follow this. We must go ahead with this, right? Or there's something, okay, we should immediately stop doing this. This is not required, like unnecessary. You can also eliminate all those things when these diagrams. Pretty simple. I think I'm talking the same thing again, again, and again, just to make your life easy. All this purpose are just talking the only one common thing. You have to make things simple, easy, eliminate the unrequired things, implement the required things. You have to find out the gaps. You have to find out the best things, like something that I can immediately stop doing, something I can immediately start doing. This should be discontinued. This should be implemented. Everything can be done once you have the diagram, and this is what we call process optimizations. You know, so obviously, sometime, let's say, right now we are talking about one simple functional requirement. Let's say if we have to draw these diagrams for the whole business processes, don't you think this is really going to help business improve their process efficiencies? This might end up reducing their cost and enhance overall performance of their business. Can be done. You might see lot of positions open in the market. They ask someone who has experience in process mapping, data mapping, as is to be process mappings. What they normally do is they try to go ahead and review all the applications, all the processes they have in their business, and they try to map, they try to draw some of the diagrams and find out how these systems are connecting with each other. And within one system, how different processes, different activities are happening and collaborating with each other. You may end up doing this job as well. And that is one of the most important key job that you may be doing for any of the businesses. Is actually you're highlighting what efficiencies they have and how they can like think of reducing the different cost. What is something they're doing unnecessarily, redundant work, duplicate work, and overall you can help them improve their productivity and performance. So that was like on the org level. Now we are talking about the one of the requirement levels. You have 5 different functional requirements. You may end up writing 5 different activity diagrams, or maybe one diagram including all those 5 different requirements. Next, system design and development. Obviously, once I have everything, this will really help me to like use as a blueprint, like negative, then I have to go and make it positive, and like in the photograph form. If you remember 90s, we used to click photographs, go to the studio and get it done, just like blueprint is nothing but your plan. So once you have this diagram developed, you can use this as a blueprint for the system design and development. Now I know, okay, functional requirement one has these as many activities, and this is how it is going to look like. So what I can do is I can simply go ahead and use that as a blueprint and actually start developing that into the system. Pretty simple. Now, give me one quick second, please. Just 1 second. Sorry about that. Just 1 second, please. So we were talking about system design and development. So as I said, once we have that diagram written, drawn, we can use that as a blueprint, and we can actually go ahead and start developing the system. Like the actual software designing. The system architects can use these data and they can simply go ahead and start designing the systems and actual development can start. Now, obviously, once we have the system design development, this can be used as a high-level overview of the system's behavior. How system will behave, all different interactions, and all the functionalities can be used using these diagrams. The activity diagrams can be used as a basis for designing system workflow. Obviously, once we have the activity diagram for different functional requirements, we can simply use this diagram to go ahead and further utilize and leverage this when I'm actually designing my system, my software. So once I'm thinking overall as a software, within that software, I know that like different activities that we have to complete. Within each of the different activities, I have some activity diagrams already written and drawn. So what I can use is I can go ahead and leverage those diagrams and start implementing in my system designing. I can implement somewhere. I get the concept. I get the idea. So I can go ahead and simply define, okay, these are different users, these are different interactions, any specific interaction that I would like to discuss, within different system components. So I can use all these diagrams when I'm actually going ahead and building my system, designing my system. So if you remember, I said in my previous classes, if you spend 2 hours in planning, you will end up saving 8 hours during execution. This is what it is happening. Once you're trying to draw all these diagrams, you're doing nothing but planning for the future, good work and easy work. So these are done already. You just have to integrate them together and make a big system design. So this can be used. Now, summary. Activity diagrams are the powerful tool for business analysts to model, analyze, and communicate business processes. We just discussed. I'm not going to explain that once again, unless you have any questions. These diagrams facilitate process understanding, requirement analysis, collaboration, process optimization, and system design. We just explained each of these terms in detail. By leveraging activity diagrams, business analysts can effectively capture and represent the dynamics of complex business processes, leading to improved decision making and successful system implementation. We discussed this in detail. This is just to summarize everything all together. Cool. Any questions so far?
No, not really.
All right.
I have a question, Sajid.
Please go ahead.
Activity diagram and process diagram, both are the same. As per my understanding, the activity diagram describes the complete whole process of the particular requirement, right? Is my understanding correct?
There's nothing like process diagram. Activity diagram is a diagram where we design processes. Processes is nothing but different activities. There's one process that we have to complete different activities and then we will be completing that process. So that entire process, the entire requirement we can represent through activity diagram. So there's nothing called a process diagram. It's all activity diagram, use case diagram, or different diagrams. And within each of these diagrams, we define different processes of one application. Processes as in can be also referred as a different functional requirements.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
So now let's try to understand the different components of the activity diagram. When you try to draw these diagrams, so what are different components you will be using? The number one is the activity. Do you see this rectangle kind of the design here? Activity represents the specific task actions. I'm talking about this thing. I'm talking about this thing and this thing. So activities and actions, they both look like the same thing. Activities is the main activities and action is like subtask of that activity. But we represent them like this one, if you see here the diagrams. So it's like a round rectangle, something diagram. So wherever you see these diagrams, you will understand, okay, these are the different activities or the actions. Action box is something different. I'll show you. But activities is nothing but some actions. We're taking some actions. So you will have one activity and then one you will have actions. The both will moreover be represented the same way. You will see just one of them, always not both of them. I'll just show you the differences and this will be really easy for you to understand. Now, the second thing we have here is control flow. So control flow is nothing but this will show you how is your the diagram is flowing from one step to another step, from one activity to another activity, and then some decision. So that will be can be shown using this arrow diagram. This is this arrow, simple arrow. So this arrow will tell you, okay, what is the flow of that activity is going on. If the arrow is towards the right, this is going right. If the arrow is towards left, the flow is going towards the left. So the arrow will depict what direction the flow is going, either left, right, north, south, whatever. So we use this arrow to show the flow of that activity or the diagram, what direction is going on. Now we have some decisions and merger nodes. So decision represents the point in process where a choice must be made. As I just have been telling you, decision is nothing but a point where you have to make one decision and make one choice out of two, right? So the decisions and merges nodes are both represented through this diamond kind of the box. So within the diamonds, we write the decisions. Let's say if true or false, right? So what is the difference between decision and merger? First, let me help you understand. The decision is where you are trying to decide one action, which one I'll be going ahead if that condition is either true or false based on the business requirement. Let's say business says, say an example, this is your condition one, this is your condition two. So if condition one is to go and perform this action, if condition two is to go and perform this action. Say an example, that's a simple requirement. So now once the condition one is true, I'll go ahead and try to take action as per the business logic. And then let's say if the decision is true, I'm going to take the another action as the business logic. But both the action are combining at one place and performing one single action. Could be the result of both these two activities is making one common result. So we would like to join them and merge both of them at one place, right? So this is what you see here. The action of this decision and action of this decision is merging here and making one common goal. So decision and merger node could be like, you can draw this, the design is same, but the concept is different. From decision, the moment you see the decision, that means you're trying to figure out which one I have to do based on the conditions. The merger is like the common goal or common action is merging and making another one common goal. So we will use this as a merge. Now, at this point in time, I know this could be a little difficult for you, but don't try to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and explain this to you in detail. And that's probably you will be easily understanding what I'm trying to make a point here is. I will give you some of the examples. So just relax. All right, so next is we have forks and joins. This is, you will be confused. I just spoke about this one. The other one was decision, and here is the fork and join. That this will like split two concurrent activities from one activities, and then result will be merged and make one activities. So if you see this line here, this is used as a fork and joins both. We call it fork and join both. Fork as in once you are splitting two different concurrent activities at one time from one point, this will be called as a fork, and where you're clubbing and combining the action of both those current activities at one place and making it one single activity will be your. For an example, I am building a house. I have to paint my house. The house is already built. Now I have to give a fresh paint. So painting could have two activities. The one, buying the paint, could be this action is you're buying a paint, and this is finding a labor. Say an example, finding a labor, correct? So from here, I'm splitting these two different activities. One, I'm saying, okay, I have to buy paints. I don't know, maybe it could be anything else. I have to decide the paints, whatever you wanted to make it. At the same time, I also said, okay, let me have someone work on finding a labor who can actually do this fresh paints on our wall from there. So at this, from how I will represent that from this 4, I will have one arrow here this direction, that will say concurrent action 1. This is like my finding a labor. At the same time, I'm also going ahead and trying to buying a pen, because finding a labor has to do nothing with buying a pen. These two activities can be done all together. The homeowner will decide, okay, which paint they have to apply. So they will go and simply start buying paints, and at the same time, they can have someone go and find a labor in the market to do all those paintings for them. Now, once we have the labor with us, and then we have also purchased the paint, we can combine these two activities and actually apply paint here, apply paint. So this is how we actually go ahead and try to use the fork and join. So from one point, if you have the two activities going on together for one common action, you can split them. And then once the actions are completed, now we can combine them and go for the final action. Clear? Any doubt?
So
Yes.
basically, you're saying like in fork and join nodes, these activities happen one after the other, and the previous one, the decision and mergent one, the activity happened like first we have to see whether one is true, then we move on to the other one.
True. Exactly true. So in the decision points, you will take only one action at the same point. As I said, this is nothing but you have to decide which one I have to go ahead with that.
Okay.
And here, there's no decisions. There are two different activities serving same common goal, and actually it's like we cannot complete one common goal before doing these two different activities. So now, if you find an option that two different activities can be done all together, getting a point. If you find an opportunity where two different actions can be done together, so you use this fork and join, and you will try to show the development team, okay, hey, development team, this concurrent action 1 and concurrent action 2 can be done all together. So you plan your work accordingly. You don't have to wait for one to be completed to start 2. You can do at the same time. So this is how you will show in the diagrams. So the moment they see it, they will understand, okay, got it. So these two actions can be done all together. So they can plan things accordingly. And then the joint note tells the action of these two will be serving one common purposes. That purpose could be anything. This is what this fork and join tells. The decision tells you cannot do both together. You have to do only one. Select one based on the different conditions.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Right. So the next is we have some diagrams components like object flows. So as I said, once you have two different activities, like in this example, you will see send invoice is one activity and make payment is another activity. In between, we have something like a big rectangular box with invoice written and with a solid line here. If you see this solid line, let me show you this solid line. So this differs from your object and from your activity. However, if you see the activity has a different little oval shape, not actually a rectangle. You see, not actually a rectangle, a little oval shape. And this has like a different shape. If you see, this has a different shape here. But it's still, sometimes I have seen people are getting confused. So what normally they do is we try to have this solid line written so that this tells you, okay, now this is an object and not the activity, and the other one is an object and activity. So what the point I'm trying to make here is, you guys still can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the point I'm trying to make here is, once you would like to give your management or your development team or your business a clear picture what is happening, you can also use the object flows. That means you can integrate the objects between the actual activity flows. So send invoice is activity 1, make payment is activity 2. Now what is flowing? I'm sending invoice so that the person can make payment. So I can also represent this way. I can have this written, this pure rectangle box. I can write invoice and highlight with that dot, the solid line there. So invoice is one of the examples. You can do anything here, whatever is like coming to your way during that requirement, you can use this invoice. Now, how this will actually look like in the real-time example, we'll just see in the further slides. For here, the purpose is to make you understand you can always show some objects. Object is nothing but like object. A pen is an object, your book is an object. So you can simply try to represent how the object is flowing between two activities. So in this example, we have send invoice one activity, make payment another activities, and between that the object is flowing. We're sending some invoices. Invoice is an object. So I can show this way here in this example. Clear? All right. So next, yeah, I'm sorry.
Can we write it like instead of writing the showing it in a rectangle? Can't we just write it on the arrow, the flow arrow, the going?
No,
Like
if you're
invoice.
writing activity diagram, you have to actually follow the concepts of the activity diagram. You know what? I'm glad you asked this question. Actually, a good question. What happens normally? Sometimes I do not write these object diagrams. I can simply write on the arrow, sending object like a comment, and that also serves the purposes. But that is like like in the languages, we have some formal languages, we have some informal languages. We use it a lot, but they are not actually authorized. So
Okay.
once you're writing as a professional document, I would recommend you use the way UML is suggesting you to do. You can do like there's an n different number of ways you can do the one thing.
Yeah.
But if you start following the right practices, this will be easy for you. So don't do that. I would recommend you start writing these things.
Okay.
You have one flow, you can, okay, that's fine, I can write on the arrow, but let's say if you have like 15, 20, or maybe 500 objects to show, you will might be a little difficult for you to write everything. Yeah, you can still write the names, but that will not look really good. Every arrow you have something written. Getting my point?
Yeah.
So better use this thing.
Okay.
Alrighty, so the next here is, okay, just give me 1 second. So next here is the swim lane. Swim lane and partition, like you can club the common activities done by a common group of people, a common role. Let's say in one activity, I have 50 activities, 15 actions that are being done. All of we have like 5 groups, different groups. That groups could be based on the roles or departments or a system. Maybe a system is a one group that is doing some work, and we have some people that are doing different works. So if you do not want to like make a really complicated diagram, what you can do is you can use a swim lane. Swim lane is like you can have a partition between these different groups, and then you can try to draw something that represent, okay, this group is doing all these activities, the other group is doing all these activities. In our example here, if you see, I have written here, the first is your account department. This is one department. It could be a person as well. And the second is the customer, which is actually a person. So what is happening? Account department is sending an invoice, and what the account department is sending, you can also represent here using an object. What is the object? Invoice. You can see it. This is we just have seen this example. So the account department is sending invoice, and that invoice we have already represented here as an object, and then customer is making a payment. So looking at this swim lane, we can easily understand there are 2 groups. The one group is the account department. The other group is customer that we have just partitioned. What account department is doing, I'll draw all those activities in that particular area, the account department area. Here, this is a simple example. We only have one, which is called send invoice. The object can be drawn anywhere. It really doesn't matter. It's like in between. And then customer is making a payment. So if you have multiple actions, multiple activities that account department can do, and similarly customers can do, so you will try to have all those activities written, drawn between 2 different areas, and use your arrow to connect, use a relationship like the conditions to make it clear how it is happening. So this is, I have taken a very simple example to explain you how this partition works. You're getting my point? Let's say this is action 1. I can have action 2. I can have action 3. So this action 2 and action 3 will be done by account department and not by the customer. This is what it is trying to show it here. So whatever you have in this area, this will be done by the account departments only. And whatever you have in this area will be done by the customers. So you will try to write all those diagrams, all those activities that customer will be doing in this area only, and not here. And now how you will give the relationship? Obviously, you have to use different arrows. Like in this example, you will see the flow of these activities. So the flow is starting from the account department and going towards the customer. The arrow tells you very clearly. You can use another arrow, right? Because you can use another arrow. Maybe once the payment is done, this will go here and account department will release product, whatever. It's pretty bad writing. You can't even see it. So you can have another arrow and you can go to the different sections and you can write their activity that they will be doing. Now this arrow will tell, okay, once the payment is done, from here, this will go to the account department and they will do some actions. So you can use these arrows and you can make life pretty simple and easy for you. So an example, what I was trying to say, let me just remove these things all here from here. Okay, so what I was saying is, say an example, the payment is made. From here, I'm one arrow here and I'm writing maybe this activity, I'm saying release product, say an example. So what will happen? You will have to see the flow as well, and you have to see the actions. So the first flow is says send invoice, see the arrow, see the flow, how is it going? The next is we're sending invoice, one of the objects. Now it takes me to the customer section that says make payment. Once customer is making payment, now again the arrow takes me to the account department that says release the product. So once the payment is done, account department will release the products. Here you will see the two activities, send invoice and release product. I've written in one section where account department will be working, and the other I've written just one, make payment. So this is how you can club different activities using the swim lane. This will make your life easy. There will be like too many things that you can use here, and this will be really easy for you to understand things, and for you and for the someone who's looking at that. Now the next we have here is so this is a start and end node. So whenever you start writing your diagrams, you will use this start node. If you see this black filled circle, which is this depicts the start node. So the moment you start writing any of the activity diagrams, you will start from here, so that whoever is reading your diagram will know, okay, this is the starting point. From here, the diagrams, all the activities are getting started, and this is your end node. So when you are done, finished, you will use this thing, like two circles within one circle, and the other one is like partially filled, not fully filled. The first one is fully filled. When you have a solid circle, that means a start node. Once you have like partially filled, it's like end node. So in your diagram, these must be there. Otherwise, people will not be able to understand from where to start and from where to end. Now, once you have the start and end node, I can easily know, okay, this is the starting point and this is the final end point. So we can understand that things easily. The actual example. Now let us understand what we have so far studied in this course. So this is the example, the activity diagram example. Now you will see here what is happening. So this activity diagram is like for an order management system. The number one you will see here is your start node. From here, the diagram is starting. Now what is happening? The very first, you will see I've also written start of the process. You see it? So what is happening? Customer sends an order request. Customer is sending an order request. This is the first activity is happening within this system boundary. And who is doing that activity? Obviously a customer. And how do I know this is the first point? Because I know this is your start point. So looking at this, I can know, okay, this is the starting point of this activity. Customer is sending order request. Now you see the arrow. You see the arrow. This will tell you the flow. What is happening next? This arrow is telling. So next is happening order request system confirms the receipt of the order. Now there is a system somewhere that system confirms, okay, we have received the order. So these are nothing but the activities. Customer sending an order, machine is accepting the order. These are your activities, different activities. So all those activities you will write within this box, and you will use the arrow to show the flow of that activity, from what direction this is going on, right? Now let's move. Now next thing is, it says it is checking some of the condition. If the order is normal, the order may not be normal as well. Now don't ask me what do you mean by normal. Just take simple example. If the order is normal or not normal, or something is available or not available, right? So what it says, let's say the order is normal. Now this, you see this diagram, the diamond box. This diamond box will be used as a condition check. Wherever you have a condition, you can use this diamond box. From here, it says, yes, the order is normal. See this arrow is coming here. Order is normal. Now, I'm confirming the order. And then once the order is confirmed, this is being dispatched. Just follow the arrow. Follow the arrow. Customer sends an order. Machines accepts the orders. Follow the arrow. Now it is going and checking the condition. If the condition is true, I'm saying, okay, I'm confirming the order, and then follow the arrow, the direction. And now it says, okay, I'm dispatching the order. And now here, this is the end of this flow. Normal condition. I sent an order, order was accepted, order is normal, order was confirmed and dispatched, and the activity is closed. Another example on this decision making, it says no, order is not normal. Something is wrong with this order. So I'm gonna go and check. Here you can use as your joint. This is a joint condition. The first was pretty simple. Order was absolutely like normal flow, or I place order confirmed, order was normal, confirmed, dispatched, and done. Now in the alternate flow, we have read this before in use case diagrams. I am saying no, the order is not normal, and now I will follow this arrow. Now here this arrow is coming to the joint. It's like, what was that? Conditions in joints. It was something, I just don't remember it right now. So here, what is happening now? It is saying order was here. Okay, now here again, probably I'm checking another condition or jointing it. I'm not sure what it says. First, it says order was not normal. Now here, I'm saying, do I have to process this order or not? Do I have to confirm this order? Maybe some of the admin is sitting there. Admins looks at, okay, no, this order is not normal, but still, can I go ahead and confirm the order? If I'm confirming the order, now follow this arrow. Order, I'm confirming, and now I'm dispatching and then closing. I'm deciding as admin, no, I do not have to confirm this order. So I'm simply follow this and then I'm closing. So I'm not dispatching it. I'm just terminating it. So this is how you can draw different activities and different conditions. Now the question you might be arising in your mind is, can we have multiple conditions check? Yes, you can have n number of conditions check. You can like draw a one activity diagram for the whole project, and you will have like really huge diagram, like so many condition checks, so many start points, so many endpoints. You can have everything all together. But I would strongly recommend, don't do this. Try to have things simple. Try to draw these separately, and try to make a simple diagrams and club them. You don't need to like draw everything at one place to make it difficult. Make it simple. It's all about making things simple. You got it? All right. So one more example. Here. So I'm receiving one order. If you see, I will see this is the start point. The order was received, right? Now I am checking if the order was accepted or rejected. If you see the diagram, if order was accepted, just follow this arrow. If order is accepted, now I'm filling the order. Now here is your joint, the fork. From this fork, I'm saying ship the order one. Either I'm deciding to directly ship the order. I'm assuming the order was prepaid. Order is received, order is accepted. The one condition says order is accepted. Now then other activity says, okay, I'm filling the order. Now here I'm having a fork. Now within this fork, I might do two things separately. I can decide to ship the order, and then the same time I can also decide to send the invoice to the customer. I can do these two activities in parallel. Now here I'm sending the invoice. This is an object I'm showing here. You don't need to show it here, but you can also show it to make things easy. And then customer is making the payment. Once the payment is made, payment is accepted. Now again I'm going and jointing here. This was a fork. Fork as in I'm going ahead and splitting two different activities at the same time. And here I'm jointing the action of those two activities at one place, and then doing the further actions. So the one simple diagram says order was received, order was accepted, and I'm shipping it. I'm using this fork so that I can have two different activities. The one activity says, okay, I'm going to ship the order, and here I'm jointing. Here I'm jointing. Now another activity is saying I'm going to send the invoice to the customer so that customer can make payment. Once the payment is made, payment was accepted, and then I'm again going here and jointing here, and then from here I'm taking further actions. Now further actions could be anything. I don't know. You could have many different situation scenarios written at one place, and you can have so many different what I would say decision points as well. Perfectly fine. No issues at all. You can do this thing. This was one of the simple example. Okay, before I go ahead, any questions?
No, thank you.
Cool. So say an example, like maybe I can draw something for you guys so that you can understand. So here I am saying there's one activity. I'm saying login. Here I'm checking the condition. I'm saying success. I'm writing here success. Now here I'm saying this condition is true, or maybe I can say okay, let's say yes, and I'm saying false. So if the condition is true, I will, this is an arrow. If the condition is true, this is an arrow. So I will go ahead and take this action, do it. If the condition is false, I can decide to have either I will say, okay, you need to relog in. Say an example. So what I'll do, I'll just simply move arrow here, right? I can simply arrow here and I'll ask them to relog in. Or maybe I can have one box here, another with this arrow, and I can say relog in. Relog in, and I can route this to login page again. Now, so once the condition is false, I'm saying, okay, you need to relog in, and I send it back to him. Then a person will again try to log in. If the login is success, the person will go and do this one. Now, you don't have to do only one thing. You can do multiple things. These guys can see my whole screen or not?
Actually, the right side, you're not able to.
Okay, got it. No worries. No worries. So, just a second. Let me use this. This is like a bigger thing. So what we were doing, we will discuss this later on. Just let me draw a diagram that. So I said I have one thing said login. Here is the arrow and here is the condition. I'm checking. Sorry about this bad diagram. Success. If this is true, I'm going to take this action. Let's say action 1. If this is false, I'm routing them to go and relog in. Now I'm doing action 1. So once I'm doing action 1, I can also do action 2. So you will write again action 2, and you can have action 3 as well. Perfectly fine. You can have as many actions. And from here, I'm going to end this diagram. And here it was the starting of the diagram. Got it? So this is my start point. It's a fully filled start point. I'm going to log in, checking the condition. If the condition is success, login is success. This is false. This is true. Condition is true. Then I'm going to go and do action 1, action 2, action 3, and then I'm closing this diagram. If action is false, I'm routing this person to go and relog in. This is how you can just write simple diagrams. Pretty simple. Cool. Now let me close this session pretty quickly. We have taken a lot of time. So tips and the best practices, you have to keep it simple. Use descriptive labels. The labels, like I'm using these labels, I'm using these labels. This has to be descriptive. If I'm writing A1, A2, no one will understand what is this A1 and A2 all about. So you have to make it simple. Write something that is understandable to everyone and that makes sense. Maintain consistency. If I'm writing A1, then I should be referring that particular activity A1 everywhere. At one place, I cannot write A1, the same activity, other place I can write A2. No, you have to be consistent. And you have to use the proper control flow arrows, like these arrows. If you will not use these arrows, this will not make sense. What is the flow and where this is heading towards? So you have to use this very clearly. You have to validate the decisions. These decisions, the decision points that you will write here, you have to validate what is happening. Validation as in, let's say if this is true, if this is true, so is it really happening? If this is false, if this is really happening or not. So you have to validate so that you don't capture the incorrect requirement. So validation is very important. Now you might use swimlane diagrams efficiently. You have to use the swimlane, but that have to be really effectively and efficient. You don't want to like mix up things that no one understands. Use all common activities that one person will be doing or one department will be doing, and put those everything in one place, and then another place for the different people and group, and use the arrows to connect them together. Now you also always have to review and validate. The once you're drawing something, you have to validate things. You have to make sure you're writing the correct thing. Now, how would you validate? Go and review with your business, your development team, and get it done. Consider using tooling as in, like, we have Visio diagrams, the Microsoft tools. We have Lucid chart, which is the online chart. You can use these tools to make things easy. Right now I'm using my pen to draw. It doesn't really look good, it doesn't look beautiful, but the moment I start using Lucid chart, that in my previous example I used the Lucid chart, that will give you like better understandable the diagram. So you can consider using any toolings. And if you have any assumptions, you can also write assumptions like, you can have something, let's say here you can have something like this dotted line, and you can write assumptions, assuming business will try to relog in. So here I'm just routing this person to relog in. What I'm assuming, it is supposed that he has or she has to go and try to relog in. So I did some assumptions. So I will write that assumptions here. I will write that assumption here, so that when business is looking at this diagram, business can know, okay, you're routing that person to relog in because login was not successful, and you assumed that person has to be routed towards to relog in. Business might change, okay, no, just don't route them to relog in, just terminate this section, simply from here bring it here and close this section. If the login is not successful, you don't have to route them to relog in, simply close the terminate this diagram, done. So it is important for you to write the assumptions as well, and any constants, that is any dependencies. Say an example, login, you can write dependencies here. Customer must have login credentials, so you can write here, must have login credentials, anything you can write. So this will be easy for your business to understand. Okay, this diagram tells, in order for someone to log in, the person must have login credentials. That's fine. And now once the login is not successful, we are assuming that they have to retry login. So if you write all these assumptions and constants, this will make your life easy, and this will be pretty simple for everyone to understand what is being done and happening there. Now maintain, update. You always have to keep updating the diagram and maintaining it. Let's say there's a change is going on, go ahead and make the changes and update. Don't try to keep that with you. You did something that was approved, there was a change, and there is a place that you have to make some changes, but you're not doing it. That's not true. That's not good. You have to keep updating so that you have everything like synced with the latest requirement and everyone understands. Alrighty, so next we are end of this session. Couple of questions and then we are good to go. In an activity diagram, what do object flows represent? Give me the answer, please.
It's D.
Okay. Okay, let's see the answer. Yes, the answer is D. Next question, what is the purpose of using swim lane in an activity diagram?
C.
Yeah, it's C.
All right, awesome. Answer is C. Thank you very much.